The Great Pretender by Kennedy Brown. EmmaParaLeeInc Incorporated Marie 68 Publishing. Where the streets tell their own truth. The Elder Chorus. On Chelsea's hoe behavior, the obituary, and Darrick being put out like yesterday's trash. By the time the news reached the porch, it had already made 3 phone calls, stopped at 2 beauty shops, and sat down for a full plate at somebody's kitchen table. The Elder Chorus did not go looking for it. It came to them, the way the truth always does in a small community, loud, breathless, and slightly more detailed than anyone asked for. Auntie May had received the first call. Then Mama Greer received a slightly different version from the same source, which told them everything they needed to know about how thoroughly this story was traveling. Mother Mary had heard a fragment at the pharmacy. Sister Shirley Ann had heard all of it at once from a woman in the parking lot of the dollar store, who apparently had no concept of an indoor voice or discretion. And Ruby, who had driven back to Cheraw and then turned right back around upon hearing the news, had arrived on the porch with a Bojangles box, a full tank of gas, and an expression that said she had been right about everything and took absolutely no pleasure in it. They assembled at dusk, as they always did. The porch fans were going. The tea was made. And Auntie May, who had been holding everything in since 11 that morning, opened her mouth. Auntie May, that woman went to the wake. Mama Greer, don't. Auntie May, no, I need somebody to confirm what I heard, because I have been sitting on this all day and I cannot carry it alone. Chelsea Dawkins, the mistress, the side piece, the woman who has been sleeping with this dead girl's fiance, went to the wake. Mother Mary, Lord have mercy. Auntie May, and not quietly either. Not in the back row with a black veil and some humility. Dressed up like it was Easter Sunday service at a megachurch. All coordinated and pressed and, Sister Shirley and, leaning forward, what did she have on? Auntie May, that is not the point, Shirley Ann. Sister Shirley and, it absolutely is the point. The outfit tells you everything about the state of mind. What was she wearing? Ruby, without looking up from her Bojangles church attire, head to toe, like she was the one receiving condolences. A silence so thick you could press your hand into it. Mama Greer. She went to that child's wake dressed like the widow. Ruby. She went to that child's wake dressed like she had won something. Mother Mary. Both hands on her Bible, Father God in heaven above. Auntie May. And reeking of liquor and marijuana. So she came to mourn this woman's death, smelling like a house party and dressed like the first lady of the congregation. Sister Shirley and, pausing mid-sip of her mason jar and looking mildly offended, there is a time and a place, Chelsea. Mama Greer. Shirley, and are you actually judging somebody for drinking? Sister Shirley and, I judge nobody for drinking. I judge the timing and the location. I have never once shown up to a wake reeking. I have standards. Mama E. Who had been quiet until now, rocking slowly, watching the street, what did she say? When she was there. Everyone looked at Ruby. Ruby, she said, and I want you all to hear every word of this. She said that ShaMari looked so good laying there in that casket that she should have died a long time ago. The porch did not erupt. It went cold. Auntie May stopped fanning. Mama Greer set down her glass. Mother Mary made a sound that was not a word. Sister Shirley Ann lowered her mason jar to the floor with the precision of someone choosing not to throw it. Mama Greer. Very low, very deliberate, she said that. In that funeral home. About that girl in that casket. Ruby. Those were the words. Mama Greer. About a 26-year-old woman. Laying in her wedding gown. Carrying her baby. Ruby, yes. Mama Greer. And nobody in that room removed her from the premises using whatever force was available and necessary? Mama E. Greer. Mama Greer. I am asking a genuine question. Auntie May, I will say this. If I had been standing in that room and those words had come out of that woman's mouth, they would have had to open a second casket. I'm just being honest with you. Mother Mary, Auntie May. Auntie May, Mother Mary, there are moments when the Lord himself would step aside and say, handle that. And this was one of them. Sister Shirley Ann, what kind of person says that? What kind of hollow, broken, bitter, eaten up from the inside person stands over a dead woman's body and says she should have died sooner? What happened to Chelsea Dawkins that made her this way? Mama E. Quietly, a man left her at an altar. Sister Shirley and, that's not an excuse. Mama E. No, it is not. But it is an explanation. Pain that never gets treated doesn't stay where it started. It moves, spreads, and eventually it starts speaking out loud in funeral homes over the bodies of women who had nothing to do with the wound that created it. Ruby. ShaMari Harris did not leave Chelsea at that altar. ShaMari Harris fell in love with a man who lied to her. Those two women were both victims of the same person, and Chelsea is standing over one of their coffins talking about she should have died sooner. That is not grief talking. That is something else entirely. Mama Greer, that is a woman who helped put her there talking. Nobody argued with that. Auntie May, now, can we discuss the obituary? Because that was a whole other kind of justice served on a fine china plate with a garnish on the side. Mother Mary. And despite herself she straightened just slightly. They left him out entirely. Auntie May. Not an honorable mention. Not a footnote. Not a also survived by the man who was supposed to marry her, and couldn't keep his hands to himself. Nothing. That man does not exist anywhere in that program. Sister Shirley and, you know that had to have stung. Mama Greer, good. Sister Shirley and, oh, I'm not saying it didn't. I'm saying it had to have stung, and I wanted to acknowledge that before I said good. Ruby. Leah pushed for it. ShaMari's older sister. She held the line. Because she knew. She knew what was going on, and she wasn't about to put his name next to her sister's in something that would exist forever. Mama E. That family understood something that a lot of people don't have the courage to act on. Your name in an obituary is permanent. It is the last public document that says who mattered to this person. And that family looked at Darrick Mack and decided, no. You do not get to stand in the warmth of her legacy. You do not get to have your name printed next to hers as though you were what you pretended to be. You were a lie. And we will not print the lie. Auntie May. And then Mr. Harris, the father. When Darrick finally showed up late to the funeral home trying to get a private viewing, Mr. Harris had already called ahead. Already told them. This man does not get in. Mama Greer. Slowly nodding. Tim Harris told the funeral home not to let him through the door. Ruby. That is a father who loved his child and knew exactly who was responsible for the world she was living in. Sister Shirley and Darrick had to stand outside. In the parking lot. With Chelsea, who he had called for a ride because apparently that was the only person who would answer the phone, and they stood there together, the two of them locked out. Of the wake of the woman they both wronged. Auntie May. The poetic justice of that image alone should be put in a frame and hung on a wall. Mother Mary. I don't take pleasure in another person's humiliation. Mama Greer. Mother Mary. Pause. But I will say that God is not mocked. And sometimes his corrections are visible to the naked eye. Auntie May. Mother Mary just said what she said and I respect it. Mama E. And the baby's name. Tell them about the baby's name. Ruby. Setting down her food because this part deserved full attention. The family named the baby. The child that ShaMari was carrying. They named him Timothy Camden Mack. Timothy for her father. Camden for her brother-in-law who has been standing guard over that family like a wall. And 4 children are going to carry a small blue satin pillow with that name on it. Into the service. To be placed inside the casket with ShaMari. The porch was still. Ruby. That baby has a name. That baby has pallbearers. That baby has a blue pillow with his name on it carried by children, so that everyone in that church understands, this was not a pregnancy. This was a person. This was a son. And this family is burying both of their people with every honor they deserve. Mama Greer. And her voice was thick but steady, and Darrick wanted to say that child was going to carry his name. His legacy. His son. Ruby, he said that. At the pallbearer meeting. Acted put out that they had named the baby without his input. Auntie May. He lost the right to name that child the moment he. Mama E. Yes. He did. Silence. Mother Mary. ShaMari is being buried in her wedding gown. The gown she never got to wear down the aisle. Cradling her baby in a receiving blanket that belonged to her baby brother Dendrai, who passed as an infant. wearing an antique pin from Granny Mack's collection. Granny Mack, who paid for a glass case over her body so the family could see her one last time, and then she could rest untouched. That is a family that loved that girl with everything they had. Every single detail of that homegoing says you were cherished. You were planned for. You were expected to live a long, full, beautiful life. And we are going to send you home with every tenderness we have left in us. Sister Shirley and, quietly, and Darrick Mack isn't even in the program. Mother Mary, he is not. Sister Shirley and, that's not cruelty. That's clarity. Mama E. After a long moment rocking slowly, you know what stays with me? Chelsea said ShaMari should have died long ago. And I keep thinking about what that sentence really means coming from Chelsea's mouth. Because Chelsea has been dying a slow death for 3 years. Since Trent left her on those church steps with a baby in her body and a dress she didn't pick out alone. She has been dying every single day since then. Quietly. Behind a smile and a classroom and a beauty pageant wave. And instead of dealing with that death, instead of sitting with it, grieving it, healing from it, she found Darrick Mack. And she decided to drag somebody else into the dying with her. Nobody spoke. Mama E. ShaMari Harris was not Chelsea's enemy. ShaMari Harris was just in the way of something Chelsea had convinced herself she was owed. And that is the saddest, most dangerous place a wounded person can get to. When they start believing their pain gives them permission. Ruby. Softly, it doesn't. Mama E. No, baby. Never does. The porch settled into the particular quiet that follows when every truth has been said and nothing is left but the sitting with it. Mama Greer picked her glass back up. Auntie May resumed fanning slower now. Mother Mary opened her Bible but didn't read, just held it like ballast. Sister Shirley and reclaimed her mason jar without ceremony. Ruby gathered the Bojangles box and folded it neatly, as if order in small things was the only order available. And somewhere across town, in a funeral home with a glass case over a young woman in a wedding gown, ShaMari Marie Harris rested with her son in her arms and her grandmother's pin at her collar and her name printed cleanly across a program that did not include the man who had brought her here. She was cherished. She was buried whole. And the great pretender was standing in a parking lot with a drunk woman in Easter clothes, locked out of both the life he had ruined and the death he had caused. The porch had nothing more to say about that. Except the streets don't lie. They never do. EmmaParaLeeInc. Marie 68 Publishing. SamKookFan68@gmail.com. KennedyLovesSam@yahoo.com. Where the streets tell their own truth. Toddy. Hoping for the best. Not even entertaining the worst. When Leah and I tried to reach Mari for over an hour, all I could think of were the threatening emails and text messages that Mari had been receiving, but refused to go to the authorities about. Just at that moment I got a call from screaming, "Get your parents. And get here. Quick. Hurry." Then the call dropped. I called Leah and she and Camden hurried as I told our parents what Darrick had said. Mommy said, "Oh my God. I hope it's not a miscarriage." As we all piled into the car and headed towards Greer. Once we finally got to the street where Darrick and my sister lived was crawling with police, but when I saw the coroner's van, I knew before Leah and our mom wailed in horror. I lost consciousness when I realized Mari was gone. And I am sure Darrick and his womanizing ass, and God have mercy on his soul. I cried out and at that time I looked and saw the coroner walking towards us. Camden was holding on to Leah, who had tried to get to Darrick, who had the audacity to walk over with the coroner. "Mr. and Mrs. Harris?" The man spoke to my parents, my dad who already knew what the yellow crime tape around the house. "I am medical examiner Joseph Gosa. I regret to inform you." My dad hugged my mother to him, for comfort of the both of them. Darrick had his arm around my dad as Mr. Gosa continued, "Your daughter, ShaMari Marie Harris, has expired due to what appears to be a botched robbery." I then witnessed something I have never before seen, and hope to never witness again. My father fell to his knees, begging Mr. Gosa to say it wasn't true. My mom collapsed beside him. Darrick offered not one word of sorrow, grief, or anything else a man who just lost both his fiance and their unborn child. He just stood back. But when he answered a phone call from someone he addressed as Babe, that was all it took. Camden punched Darrick dead in his smart aleck mouth. While whomever Babe was kept talking, Leah picked up the phone and saw the name contact and asked Darrick, "Who in the hell is Chelsea?" "Oh." Two officers walked over to separate Camden's foot from Darrick's face, and one of them asked Darrick, "Yes, who is Chelsea?" Darrick said, "An employee who was checking on the situation." "She just heard." "How?" I asked. "I'm sure it has not been announced. I could have killed that bastard when he said. I called her when I found the body. I was upset." "The body, you stupid bastard. That was your fiance. That was your baby. The body? The damn body." Camden heaved. The only saving grace was, the chief of police wanted to question Darrick. At the precinct. Darrick. Guilty until I refused to talk. I am pissed. ShaMari's family act as if I know something relevant to this case. All I know is my world has come crashing down and they are worried about who Chelsea is. And right about now, Chelsea is beginning to look suspect to me. And although I think she had everything to do with this, and despite the fact, I am not a snitch, but I will drop her name in a second if it will get me out of this interrogation room. "Mr. Mack, where were you when this murder took place?" "I was at a staff meeting in school until 5:30. Then I went to the gym. You can check out my alibi." "Trust. We will. In fact, we have officers talking to Chelsea Dawkins. Anything you want to tell us before she does?" "What can she tell you about me, other than I am her boss?" "Well, just got text that your gym alibi checks out. But why were you engaged in an argument in the parking lot with a member named Taurus Wells?" "She is a friend. Her son belongs to the youth group, and she was upset because someone got her number from my phone and began harassing her. Taurus is married and the person threatened to expose the lie to her husband." "ShaMari knew about Taurus Wells?" "No, there was nothing for her to know. Why call and harass an innocent woman?" "Oh." "ShaMari." "No, Chelsea. The man who interrogated me was named Reggie Jones. His asshat of a partner was named Sonia Austin. This chick acted as if I actually hurt Mari." "Chelsea. Who is this Chelsea to you other than a teacher at your school? Because Chelsea is getting on my damn nerve. And I have yet to meet the child," she snarled. Reggie looked as if he wanted to laugh, but cleared his throat and saw to me, "Darrick, would you mind taking a polygraph test? Just procedure?" At this time I executed my rights to end this session. I had enough problems in my life, without anyone trying to get me to sign a blank statement. "Nah, I am out. I told you all I know. Now please. I have a family to console and I need my time to grieve." I got up to collect my things. When I reached for my cell phone, Sonia popped my hand as if I were a bad child. "Darrick, those people lost their loved one. And everyone is looking at you hella suspect right now, my dude. You can go for now. But the phone is under interrogation." She rolled her eyes. I knew there were 50 bugaboo messages from Chelsea, but as far as I was concerned, Chelsea was the guilty party. I am no snitch, but I will lead a horse to water if these Keystone cops don't drink. That is their bad. Before I left, Sonia said, "It is sad. All ShaMari did was come home. And if you are found guilty, I hope you get the death penalty. And I hope I am the one to pull the switch. Whatever, I have a funeral to plan. Oh yeah, don't attend." And I left the room. Chelsea. Always a bridesmaid, switch it up. Darrick had a lot of nerve. Calling me screaming in agony. Why did he even to that? Dummy. Call 911 then call everyone else. But he called me. What was I supposed to do? I can't help him. I knew the pain of losing someone I wanted to live my life with. Trent broke my heart to pieces. After putting the pain in my heart from all his other women, when I was carrying Cadence until he left my parents send out wedding invitations, it did seem funny that almost the majority of Trent's family sent their regrets they could not attend. Many of the mailed invitations were marked return to sender. I should have known then, when that Elvis Presley shit started coming back. But I never thought they would be so against me. Well, now Darrick is gonna feel the same way because I'm guessing ShaMari's family is gonna drop his ass now. Because until they find who murdered ShaMari and his unborn child, it is funny how whenever he was with me, it was always, had he not been committed to ShaMari we could have a life together. But ShaMari was pregnant, and to add insult to the injury, he brought up what Trent did to me. "So you bitter because I refused to do to Mari what that scumbag did to you?" I was livid. "Why must you bring the up? This situation has nothing to do with you pretending to be happy, trying to do the upright thing. When truth be told, you are more or less a groom to be off a shotgun wedding." He tightened his jaw. "Well, Mari and I were planning to buy our house and get married before we found out she is pregnant. And unlike Trent, I am a man about mine. And that dude is the reason for your son's condition. Look around Chelsea. You have way more baggage than any man could allow you to unpack. Cadence is just fine, just a bit slower than your average 3-year-old. And when I told you about Trent jumping on me causing premature labor and leaving me to damn near bleed to death when I finally got help, Cadence was delivered shortly after I was 7 months pregnant. Cadence lost oxygen to his brain for a bit and was kept in the hospital 2 months after being born. Trent never visited. Guess he was a bit incapacitated from the ass-kicking my 3 cousins Naughty Charles and Aunt put on him. Now I am back to square one. And it is my own damn fault. But as Darrick has hurt me time and time again. Now he needed me to cry to. I am tired of being the convenient one. And Darrick is gonna need all the strength he can muster to get over his loss. I already had a huge blowout about him in Taurus, whom I bet ShaMari knew nothing about, but I did. And I was none too pleased about it. But Darrick in my opinion did a far worse blow to my because in reality, he is no better than Trent. Darrick also is the reason I am mourning the loss of a baby I chose to terminate, as to not ruin his great pretender persona. ShaMari. Looking back. When it's too late. I knew I was no more, but somehow my mind is so troubled. I hear the strong stoic man, who was my father, fall to his knees, my mother slumped gingerly in equal grief, my sisters Leah and Toddy, my brother-in-law Camden wailing for me, and Darrick, my widower, the father of the child I enter heaven with, is the model of strength. Not surprising, he had been acting very questionable as if was a normal day, when he walked into the garage and found me laying dead. He called Babe from his cell phone, while running to the neighbor's house to dial 911. I could hear him as I lay cold, yelling at Babe. Then he beat upon the door. Our neighbors Warren and Melissa Grayson called the 911 dispatcher. As soon as the mission was accomplished, he made it back to me, fell down upon my body as the paramedics arrived. Award-winning performance. All the while Babe was still on the phone. I remember now the threatening emails that I foolishly deleted and begged my sisters not to worry my parents with it. Leah angrily told me to report them to the authorities. But I have received text and crappy emails before, so I put it into the back of my mind. At least Darrick assured. No one is gonna harm you, Mari. I will always protect you. I believed him. I needed to believe him. But my love and tears are for my parents, sisters and loved ones, whose love has always accompanied me. But also because this could have been avoided had I not kept secrets that are to be buried with me and my baby. I was never raised to tattle, and especially on a loved one. And Darrick was the loved one I felt I was tattling on. So I kept secrets of his cheating, his neglect, and the abortion I overheard him discussing over the phone. He had another woman pregnant at the time he and I first learned we were expecting. I never told my family. After all, it was obvious this woman wanted everything I had, including Darrick. I kept that secret along with the biggest secret of all. I saw her face. I knew who took the lives of me and my unborn baby. So now I guess it is too late. And snitching on her would also be snitching on Darrick. But I can do neither as my transition begins. And Darrick has yet to shed a tear or bent his knee and bowed his head in prayer for me or our baby. Unlike my grieving family and friends. However, it would be a member from another family that will begin to put together my secrets untold. And Darrick would have a bit explaining to do. It takes an arrogant man to keep text messages in his phone as if it were a little black book. But it takes an arrogant fool to be in a committed relationship and keep your sexting to various women as a trophy. Toddy. www.ichckdyurshit.com. I am so distraught right now. I, along with Leah and Camden, had to meet with detectives Reggie Jones and Sonia Austin to enter Darrick and Mari's residence to identify certain belongings of our late sister. Although this was being handled as a botched robbery attempt. But Sonia Austin was not having it. Hey ladies. Sorry to have to put this on you, but could we walk through the home and let us know if there is anything out of place? Jones asked. Sonia snarled. The whole damn situation is out of place. Starting with the fact their sister and unborn child are dead. And they know as well as you and I. This was murder. Leah burst into tears. Darrick is involved? I just know it. I readily agreed. A woman? I know a woman did this. Nobody was looking to rob Mari of anything other than Darrick and the life she lived with him. I recall Mari had met Darrick's grandmother, Christine Mack a week after Mari began dating Darrick. And Miss Christine simply adored my sister, who Miss Christine said looked exactly like her late daughter Andrea, who died years ago. Miss Christine was inconsolable with the news that Mari and the unborn child she carried was gone. Earlier this day, Leah and I paid her a visit. She was truly broken. In fact, she just called, leaving a voice message that she had pulled herself together as she was going to be helping my parents plan the funeral for Mari. Sonia asked if we knew of Darrick having another woman pregnant and talked her into getting an abortion. My sister and I never knew this. Mari had said nothing, but we knew more than not that it was probably true. After another 20 minutes we wrapped up the surveillance, and Sonia said, "Y'all two knows nothing about what happened to Darrick's phone." We shrugged. She reached into her purse and handed the mobile phone I recognized as Darrick's. She said, "Evidence comes up misplaced, especially when a guy knows he is not about to set his fake confidence into the precinct. When he is a key person in a murder would be at Greer Police Department." Nope. And you know what? It was not even protocol to take his phone. I got his activity online through Verizon Copyright and matched the data. He can delete messages over the phone, but database has everything, Sonia Austin said. Then Detective Jones backed her up. "It works. A little too good. My wife discovered this practice. Now she is my ex-wife." He chuckled. Sonia Austin added, "Yes. And now if I could only put in a transfer, this partnership would be over also. Just like our marriage." She laughed. Leah and I were stunned. Never knew they were each other's ex-spouse. But it was his way of protecting her. If only my sister had met such a man. Leah and I thanked them again and left. We all agreed not to go over the info until Mari was laid to rest. But Darrick even tried to control unsuccessfully. #bitchboybye. Miss Christine. Gonna say this. Then let you young people have it. Mine eyes have seen many a tragedy and cried tears at many losses, but this? I am the grandmother of Darrick Mack, but his fiancée Mari had become my heart for the past 2 years. She was the spitting image of my late daughter, Andrea, in so many ways. I didn't really want her to marry Darrick and told her as much. Forgive me, but he was not good enough for her. But she always smiled and said, "Miss K, it's gonna work. Darrick will change." I shook my head. "If you are sure, then welcome to the family. You just don't have to suffer to be a part of it." Now I wish I had did something instead of just saying something. Darrick has been acting like a dumb deer stuck in headlights. Something was wrong, and it probably has something to do with one of the many wayward women he was dealing with. I do know that 2 days before Mari was killed, Darrick had a big blowout with some girl named Chelsea. He had the nerve to meet up with her at my home, and when she came I made him meet up with her trifling but right outside in the middle of the street. If Mari was his woman and she couldn't keep him from cheating, neither could I. But he was not bringing her into my house. Talk on the streets better hurry too. It is trash pickup day and they would surely pick up these 2 trashy people on technicality. Darrick. Men grieve differently. Some not at all. I couldn't sleep last night. I cannot even bring myself to imagine this house without Mari. People seem to think I am okay, but I'm not. I grieve for Mari, especially thinking back to the first time I met her. At first she was just going to be another name in my long roster, but she was a challenge and that made me let my guard down. And before I knew it I was meeting the family. And she was pregnant, but at that time I explained and convinced her to terminate that pregnancy, with promises of marriage once I got established. And when I got established, with my job as vice principal at Greer Middle, I didn't want an apartment. So I found a house. I had invited Mari out here a few times, but one weekend she just came. Never left. Soon all of her clothes and everything else had been unpacked in my house. With a talk from her dad Tim and her brother-in-law Camden, I was simply stuck. But I adapted. And before you knew it, she began to remind me of my promise. And to prove she was adamant about me keeping said promise, she was once again pregnant. But marriage would keep her happy. And I could still do me. Just no longer do it in my own home. I am avoiding phone calls from Chelsea. Had to get another line due to my phone being confiscated as evidence. Chelsea had surely tried to reach me on the other one. I had to text her to be sure she didn't text other phone. Ever since she got the message she has been blowing me up. I have to meet with Mari's parents and family in a few minutes. But if I didn't want Chelsea blowing me up as I was trying to choose 3 dresses to pick out and take to Mari's parents. Yeah. Hey baby. Have you had dinner? She chirped. No. I grumbled. Before hanging up, there, now I have talked. But I hung up on her and she kept calling and I ignored her. But then she sent me a text message stating that Detectives Jones and Austin had just come to the school, inquiring about my whereabouts at the time Mari was killed. Then she snidely added, I covered for you. Okay, now she has won. I gotta call her. Chelsea. What happened? Your phone died. See how either naive or vain this chick is. Never even thinking I hung up on purpose. Me. Thanks, but I already have an alibi. I was at practice. Plus, I would have never hurt Mari. And I hope the police find out who did this before I do. Stupid bastard stole my whole world. She got quiet, but I bet you she was livid. And she was. Oh, now you the grief-stricken widower. Oh, my bad. She never got to make that appointment in the wedding chapel. Went straight to the homegoing celebration. Instead. Me, Chelsea. I swear. If I even begin to imagine that you did this shit, bringing unwanted heat my way, you will be the sorriest hoe to ever fuck her way into a beauty pageant. Then again, mommy and daddy probably bought the crown via payola. Chelsea. Whatever. I covered for you as best I could. I even gave them Torreswell's name. Had no idea who she was and luckily I remembered to tell them that and I had a confrontational but you asked me to be quiet about her. And all I knew was her name. But luckily the detectives ran a search and found her husband Desmond Wells. Do you think they will tell him that she was now a person of interest? Meh. No good and he'll well. That is how your messy ass got played by almost every dude in your life. To hell with you, Darrick. Bury that chick in the wedding gown she never got to wear. And a nursing bra. I hung up. But then realized maybe Chelsea was right. Wedding dress. It would be my last act of declaring my love for her, and the love we would forever be combined with. But truth be told, I was seriously considering Chelsea, but she had me. To implicate her would surely blow the lid off my affair with her, and once she talks, I know a few other jump-offs could be giving their get Christy love ass into detectives. A lie doesn't care who tells it, and Chelsea would not even hesitate to tell our dirty little creep sessions. As I opened the door to leave, there was a muscular black guy walking towards me. Damn it. Taurus husband. Look, bruh. You lost your girl, and you have my sympathy, but if I hear about it being true, that you been screwing my wife, you not gonna miss wife and kid too long. I will send you straight to the family reunion, you feel me? Joy bells will be ringing and crowd singing. He threatened and began walking off as my voice text alerted. Call from Taurus. Why you got PO over here asking me to come downtown? I hate the day I even screwed your ass. Old jealous hubby looked as if I had spit in his face. Bitch ass fake educated hood dog. My wife better not be in trouble over your ass. Chelsea. Don't hate on my rights. After I spoke with Darrick earlier, he never called back. And when I called him, he sent my ass straight to voicemail, so I knew how to break his ass down. Or at least try. I had just released my second period class when the intercom called me to the office. Now the only reason Brittany Gage is asked to summon a teacher to Principal Deborah Jones' office. I knew it was related to Darrick. Mrs. Jones said, Chelsea. Detective Reggie Jones and Sonia Austin want to talk with you concerning Darrick. I had no idea he had a girlfriend other than you. I looked at Sonia, she smirked. Mrs. Jones. Darrick and I are just friends. She laughed, stop it. Now you will be terminated immediately if you don't listen. I closed my mouth. And Sonia asked, where were you when ShaMari Harris was killed? I looked her dead on and said, breaking up Darrick and Taurus Wells from a fight. Darrick was tiring of a married woman being too clingy. She said, you took my heart. Now I am taking your world. After that I let go of the crazy because she meant business, and who was I to take an ass whipping over another woman's man? Against a woman who has a husband at home. Detective Austin asked, you are supposed to be one of his closest friends. And he wouldn't help you if she tried to assault you? I was pissed. Help me? He couldn't even help himself. Plus your info is wrong. We are simply co-workers, who have a brother/sister-like relationship. Brittany cleared her throat as if to stifle a sneeze that sounded like a muffled bullshit smirk. But Principal Jones, who knew my parents, did not bite her tongue or hide her annoyance with me. Chelsea. Stop lying. You follow behind that boy like a shadow. Students have seen you kiss. Hell, faculty members have seen you kiss. But out of respect for your parents, I let it go. You running behind that little bat-mite-looking boy? He is on leave effective this morning, and until you are ready to talk, You can take your termination. See, he is on leave due to death of spouse and unborn child, but he will be back. But you won't. If you don't tell this to something of substance. Poor girl and baby dead and gone because of guy who is a dog. Your parents didn't raise you like that. That was a low blow. Okay. What do you think could help? I asked as I sat down, but Principal Jones said not here, though I am not Judge Mathis. This is my office, not the litigation room. Go downtown with these officers and talk to them. And just like that she dismissed me. Just like every other person I have ever known except my parents and my biological brother. He always had my back, despite the fact I only contacted him when I needed something. That would come back to haunt me. I had been calling Darrick to let him know to be prepared to get ambushed with questions. Sonia Austin seemed to be very eager for Darrick or me to go down for this murder, but he kept sending me to voicemail, and that pissed me off. ShaMari is dead. And it does not take all damn day to make plans for a damn funeral. Cry, reflect, say Jesus wept, and commit the body to the earth. Thank all in attendance in live life. But I remembered this was not Vice Principal Darrick Mack I knew, this was the man Darrick Mack who is the great pretender. Meaning in my mind, he was pretending to be with ShaMari's family making arrangements. He was probably laid up with Taurus right now. Not if I could help it. So imagine my surprise when he finally returned a call. And by this time I was not feeling like warning him at all. But when he thought he ended the call on his burner phone, it didn't. And I heard Taurus' husband Desmond Wells, indicating that my text app message had reached him. I heard the whole thing, including hearing Darrick's punk ass beating in his heartless chest. Lucky for him, Darrick left soon after without throwing a punch, and soon I could hear Darrick starting his car. And once he made it to his destination, the only mouth to be heard at first was Toddy. At least they still were more receptive than his own family was, especially his own grandmother. But something she said convinced me. ShaMari's family has never met me before, and his nearsighted grandmother never got a good look at me, so I made up my mind. I was a co-worker of Darrick's, just like the others who will be paying their final respects. So I have a funeral to attend. Toddy, hella suspect. Leah and I were sitting on Mari's bed in our childhood bedroom, and since both she and Leah had moved out, it was my bedroom, but I left the set of bunk beds up, just for the memories. Toddy, I am telling you, a scorned-ass female did this, and Darrick knows who. I mean, I know the bastard is not suicidal enough to kill our sister. That because his ass would get dealt with. But trust he knows one of his dude hoes did the shit. Leah cried. I myself had spent the majority of the day trying to get myself together and help plan to lay my sister and my unborn nephew away, while trying to convince my parents to ban Darrick from attending the funeral. But when he showed up with a choice of clothing for Mari to be laid to rest in, my mom knocked on the bedroom door and came in. Darrick is trying to convince us to bury Mari in her wedding gown? That was it. I heard Granny Mack cussing his ass out. Boy, where is your grief? Where are your manners? In fact, who the hell are you? How insensitive. Oh. As we walked into the room where everyone was gathered, Granny Mack then gave my dad a beautiful diamond and 14-karat gold antique brooch. My great-grandma gave this to my grandma, who passed it down to my mom, then to me. I was supposed to give it to my Andrea, but she passed on. I had planned to give it to Mari on her wedding day. I would like for her to wear it in eternity. Darrick looked pale. Granny, that pin is worth over $10,000. Oh. She walked over to Darrick and slapped his face so hard it cracked. ShaMari and that baby are priceless. You are my grandson and I love you. But you ain't shit, Darrick. Darrick got all into what would have been his feelings if the bastard had any. Mari was my world. I am hurting, but I am also mad. My world was ripped away. No answers. Leah jumped in. If she was your world, why were there others? Huh? Yes. Toddy and I listened to her crying about you for months. How you would disappeared for days at a time. How about that? Everyone looked at Darrick. Slick ass kept up the act. Is that what she thought? I was working part-time as a bartender. Came home late. But always came home. Leah said. Yes, you always came home. Too late. Where were you when my sister was being murdered in cold blood? At her home. The one place your ass should have made sure was safe. But you know what? We will bury Mari in her wedding gown at least in the next year or so. Your next chick won't be sporting it. Darrick just glared at us. And proving not to be stupid, He left, saying, Mari would be turning in her grave knowing y'all are doing me this way. Granny Mack yelled, Boy, if you don't take your ass up outta here. He shook his head and left. And not a moment too soon, because he knew in his heart of hearts, you on ya own. Because within these heart-wrenching days even my parents had begun to cool towards Darrick. I watched him until he slunk away to his vehicle. Only after hearing the alert feature. He stopped, looked down at Replay's phone which Camden had paired with his. I laughed and told Leah got him. I then sent him a text, with a smiley face emoji. He simply hit a key and got into his car, and drove probably in the direction to the mystery woman, whom I knew killed my sister. Just a damn dog ass. Leah and I were waiting until after Mari and our unborn nephew, whom we all decided to name Timothy Camden Harris after our dad and Leah's husband Camden. We wanted nothing with Darrick's identity interred with our sister and our nephew. People had begun to come by to pay their respects to our lost loves, nearly all of Mari's friends and co-workers, and a good many of Darrick's friends and co-workers also. And that was exactly what Leah and I hoped, because we were waiting to go through Darrick's phone until after the funeral, but we could already begin to compare suspects, or at least catch Darrick in a situation that cost our sister her life, forever altering ours. Leah and I joined our parents and were gracious, but we were sizing up each and every one. After taking as much grief as I could, I went to my bedroom and cried myself to sleep, preparing to bury my sister. God, you have to guide this one, Chelsea. It's too damn early. I was barely out of bed when I heard my doorbell going off, ding ding ding. And it should stand to reason, because looking outside I saw Sonia Austin and Reggie Jones at my door. I sighed. Be right there. I opened the door and let them enter as I got 2 stadium chairs to go along with the one I kept out. Chelsea, where's your furniture? How long have you been living here? Sonia snooped. A bit over 6 months, and the way this neighborhood is going down, I decided to leave my furniture in storage, planning to move in about 4 months. Reggie said, we will need to know if you change residence in case this thing gets more twisted. Not a thing twisted over here. I don't know why you keep bothering me. Did you check out Taurus Wells? Reggie said. Tell us more about this, especially why you seem to keep throwing her name in our path. Before I could speak, I noticed Sonia had walked to my bedroom without permission. But what was she hoping to find? What she did find was the way to put insecurities that I have tried to put away. She said, Reggie, because they are both sleeping with the same dog-ass guy, Darrick. And although Taurus is married, Beauty of the Month here can't take it. They both laughed. I didn't find the humor, but I was gonna find Taurus and beat that ass just on what Sonia and Reggie had just laughed. Todd Colhep would understand. Detective Wells, I was Miss Teen South Carolina, and runner-up in Miss South Carolina. I am much more than Beauty of the Month, as you say. She smiled. You are right. My mistake, Reggie. What I meant to say is Booty of the Month. I was pissed. I jumped up, only to be caught in a chokehold by Reggie. Bitch. I wish you would. I wanted them out of my damn house. Sonia Austin said, we are going. Besides, I think it is so pitiful that you have no furniture other than a damn expensive-ass bedroom set. All for the occasional night Darrick would leave his pregnant fiancée slide by your place, slam dunk you one, then leave, and the next day at work, he ignores you, and your bottom line, I don't care what beauty queen you want to be, but 2 nights ago you were neither. You were a cold-blooded killer. They walked out, and I went to shower, get dressed, and deal with Taurus, and throw a bit of shade Darrick's way too. Did he think this hoe was prettier than I am? I listened to enough from the 2 detectives that I felt so much anger. ShaMari is dead. Sad, messed up fact. So why the hell won't she rest her ass in peace? Darrick, what movie am I in? There is an eerie quiet to the house. Kind of like I am being watched. I went into the walk-in closet that I kept swollen with name brand labels I had once bought for ShaMari, some costing as much as $400. I may have been a cheater, but I always made up with gifts, but that was until she let that baby bump develop. She was beautiful while pregnant, but I missed the thin frame she once had. Sure, I had talked her into having an abortion the first time, but this time around, she refused, and I guess I didn't want to rock the boat and lose her, or to have her dad, Tim, and her enforcer brother-in-law Camden trying to get all in their John Wayne/Stagger Lee bullshit. But although I know Mari told her sisters Toddy and Leah everything, but I knew that was as far as it went, because I knew even if she was upset, she would never tell them of the abortion, and that was loyalty. Yeah, her older sister never liked me from the start. But hell, when I met her, I would have never made a pass at her, knowing she was Mari's sister. I felt bad about that, but as for her being married, I could have cared less. But she had a badass disease, called imgonatal mahabivaridum thing, and that was an illness that I could do without. Yet, and still I knew she loved Mari, so we were cordial. Meaning she not only told Camden, she told Toddy, which I found out about 2 nights ago when Mari was killed. Until then I thought Toddy was an ally. That mean-ass broad became the leader of this dude. Knows who killed my sister CEO. Maybe if I just take Mari's clothes and partial them out between Leah, Toddy, and Mari's best friend, Big Mouth Michelle. What? Even Mari called her that. To her face. But with sisterhood vibes. And Big Mouth Michelle always answered to that moniker. I also found out that Michelle only liked me while Mari was alive. I found this out when I tried to call and ask her to help with the funeral planning. Michelle Ramage, please? I said as she answered the phone. I knew it was her on the other end. What, Darrick? She replied, all stank attitude. Well, hey to you too. What's the matter with you? Besides someone killing my best friend? And her fiance has been cheating, and one of his hoes could be the culprit. Huh? Ask me the shit again, Darrick, you dirty dog ass. No good. I hope? I hit end on that chick quick. But fool-ass chick called back. How the hell did this happen, Darrick? She cried. How is it my best friend is gone? You bastard. You know something? And when it comes to the light, both you and your trick is going down. Michelle, step away from the nonsense. I know nothing. Damn it. I lost Mari too. I lost my child too. What Mari would want would be for us to come together as one right now. I never saw Mari so happy as she was or as beautiful until she became pregnant, and planning to spend our lives together. She always wanted to be a good wife and mother, and she was headed in that direction. Michelle was quiet. What about the not-so-radiant glow she wore after you made her abort the first baby? Yes. Which is why she waited to tell you about this one until after she told her family. That was her insurance to simply keep her baby, a part of your sorry ass, whom she let lead her heart. And my poor sweet best friend followed your promises, straight to her grave. Die slow, you bastard. Now it was her turn to end the call. And when I tried to redial, this smart trick had blocked my number. But God said, cheer up. It could get worse. So I cheered up. And God was right. It got worse. In the form of Sonia Austin and Reggie Jones. I opened the door. Truth be told, I was wondering why they would still be on duty this time of night. Darrick? You seem to be a jinx when it comes to accident-prone females. Jones said. I didn't know what he meant, but let's say I would not grieve too long or hard. If at all, had he meant Chelsea's ass was no more. Huh? I asked. All of a sudden smelling a strong chlorine scent permeating from the direction of the door leading to the attached garage. Sonia said, what do you know about Taurus being attacked and is now as we speak laying in the hospital ICU, due to severe brain trauma and a stab wound to the abdomen? By the way, her husband would have probably taken your ass to Maury. For a paternity, what you trying to do? Kill every woman you knock up? I kept my composure. Look at the husband before coming to me. Don't you care that another one of your women has been victims of violence? I don't know what you are talking about. I haven't seen or heard from her in a hot minute. Plus, I don't care enough about her to have a reason to hurt her or the baby she was carrying. Both detectives looked at me with shock and disgust. Back at M. They both stood to their feet and began their exit. We are not done. Not by a long shot, Sonia said and slammed the door behind her. I was just glad they were gone. I was walking towards the garage door when I heard a scrubbing sound as I followed the chlorine smell. I grabbed the doorknob, yanking the door open. Chelsea, what are you doing here? How did you get into my garage? I asked, noticing that her car was nestled where Mari's 2016 Honda SUV would be parked had it not been towed to examine bullet holes. She looked up and dangled the extra keys to the house and garage. Of course my dumbass had told her where to find it one weekend while Mari and her family went to Conyers, Georgia to attend a funeral for Mr. Tim's sister, Miss Carolyn, who didn't like me, and the feeling was mutual. So I didn't attend. In fact, Leah told me, nope. Last time you saw her you made fun of her condition, wheezing and shit. Chelsea smiled. You must have forgotten who stayed here when they almost made it to the altar. but making it to the catafalque instead was out of town? Not gonna lie. I knew not what happened to Taurus tonight. I damn sure did not kill Mari. But at that moment, Chelsea actually made me see how old boy ditched her at the altar, and how I actually felt like bodying her ass myself. Only one thing stopped me. Prison.